Hello again from my front porch. Today, I want to talk about National Anthem. Now, I know you're like, Paul, you're always talking about National Anthem because you're always out there singing National Anthem of things. That is true, and I enjoy doing that very, very much. But what I want to actually talk about today are some examples of, shall we say, less than stellar national anthems. And I'm not doing this just to mock or ridicule or make fun of people, although there is amusement in what I'm going to show you. It's because all of these examples, I have three actually that I'm going to show you, and all of these examples have a certain element of things that are genuine reality and even a fear of mine when I'm out singing National Anthem at these events. And so I'm going to take you through some scenarios, some video examples that are all over out on the internet. You probably may have already seen these already anyway, but again, I'm using them here as example of something. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is, in my opinion, one of the most notorious ones, and this is Rosanne Barr singing National Anthem. Now, this goes all the way back to 1990 in a game of the San Diego Padres versus the Cincinnati Reds. Now, you have to turn the table of time back there, and the reality is that this guy named Tom Werner, who is one of the big producers of Carsey Werner, who were the production company that produced shows like Roseanne, Cosby, all that kind of stuff, that they were creating those shows. He became owner of the San Diego Padres. Now, at that time, the San Diego Padres were not exactly making the headlines, at least not for anything good, not like winning and stuff like that. They were really, really low level. And so new owner decides he wants to try to boost some interest in that, and so he decides to merge his two worlds. He's got these because Roseanne was at that point now at the time this video was done. Roseanne, her show was actually beating the Cosby Show, but they were the powerhouses of television, and so these big names, big star, big celebrity, and he gets it in his mind that, you know what, let's have Roseanne come and sing the national anthem. Now, like any other sports team, the Padres have a process where you audition and you submit, and in fact, some of the stuff that I've read, they actually prefer that you pre-record the at the time, at least. I don't know if they still do it now, but back then they preferred that people who had not previously sang for them, that they would pre-record it and then lip sync, so that they would avoid any potential issues, when things were happening. But that was not going to be the case with Roseanne. She did not audition. They had no validation of what she could do. They didn't make her pre-record it, and so which is what the engineers wanted to do. But so when she showed up at the game, that's what they got. They got Roseanne Barr being Roseanne Barr. And remember, she was at the top of her game then because she was so acidic, because she was so, her whole stand-up comedy routine that then created the Roseanne show and the characters that she played there was all based on this being really aggressive and gritty and just having no regard for anybody, just being plain and straight. And so that's what the Padres got when she came out to sing. And so she did this publicity stunt that turned out to be something, though, that would ultimately cause her to have to take a leave of absence from stand-up comedy for a while because of the negative reactions. Even President George H.W. Bush called it disgraceful. So, with that, here's Roseanne Barr, 1990, performing National Anthem at the San Diego Padres. wow, and then the grab and the spit at the end. People are like, oh, that's so disgraceful. Can you believe that? Actually, she was doing baseball stuff. That's stereotypical. But on the heels of this really horrible rendition of the national anthem, people thought that it was a continuation of her insulting, defacing the national anthem. Now, one thing though I want to point out, she also gets a lot of flack for this when she's doing this, and people like, yeah, she could tell she was doing it on purpose, and she's like, I don't care about you all, I'm not listening. Maybe. I mean, I wasn't there. I've not talked to her about it. I don't know. But what I can tell you is, having sang at some outdoor venues. Now, I will say the Iowa Cubs, the baseball team here in Des Moines, they have a really great setup in their stadium because out there, there is no delay echo effect that you have to deal with. I haven't had to put up with that at their stadium. And I've been singing there almost 20 years now. The 19 years this season. And so next season, assuming I get to sing again, that'll be my 20th year in a row singing out at the Iowa Cubs. So I've been doing there quite a bit. And I've not had that issue there. But I've sang at the Drake Stadium. I've sang at the, it's the Valley High School Stadium, but the stadium that the Des Moines Menace soccer team uses. And those stadiums, they have a nasty echo effect that you sing, and then there's this delayed where you hear it come back at you, and sometimes you even hear it again if it echoes off some other buildings, and that can really mess with your head. Well, I learned my lesson when we sang at recently when I sang at the Des Moines Menace, where they actually had me go out and do the sound check beforehand, which I was, again, grateful for in hindsight. And that echo effect was just hitting me upside this side of the face because the sound system was coming from there. But then there was buildings over here that would echo back the other way. And so I discovered that if I did that, just like Rosanne does in that video, then I could sing because I wasn't hearing this. I was only hearing mostly inside my own Chrome Dome, and I was able to get by. So we snuck over to Target quick, and I bought some tan earplugs, the foamy kind you just stick in your ears, and I wore those when I sang, and it went fine. It went great. So that's obviously what Rosanne needed too. All right. Well, anyway, so Rosanne was not a singer. She should not have been out there singing that in the first place. It was a publicity stunt, went horribly wrong, and so that's why that's the example there. But let's move on to a guy who actually has a beautiful voice. His name is Gage Charles. He's from Grand Prairie, Texas. Now this goes back to 2011, and it's at a horse race track. I tried nailing down exactly where it was, but I couldn't find it. But assuming he's in his hometown there where he lives of Grand Prairie, Texas, it's most likely the Lone Star Park horse track. And so here is Gage Charles doing the national. Now I want you to pay attention because he starts off really strong. He's got a beautiful voice. He's prepared. He starts to sing, and then he falls into one of my biggest fears. I've been doing National Anthem for over 20 years now at sporting event things and other venues and stuff. And this that happens to him is one of my continual biggest fears. He messes up the words. When I go out to sing, I almost every time I have a thought somewhere in the back of my mind. Okay, don't screw up the words. Don't screw up the words. Don't screw up the words. That's people say, oh, but you've done it so much. Why would you worry about it? And the reality is, I probably could do it in my sleep. I don't want to test that. but still, the point being that it's not a matter of how many times you do it. All it takes is that one time that, for whatever reason, something distracts you, something else pops in your head, whatever, and you just misstep for a moment, and then you struggle to recover. Now, I will give it to Gage Charles. He never throws in the towel. He never gives up. He powers through. But the result is hysterical. Watch.
By Gage Charles.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars were so gallantly there, as though rockets were there, and the twilight's last gleaming, and the rocket's red glare were so gallantly there. Burst stripes were all there, and the rockets were there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet blaze for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, now, for the first 20, 25 seconds, he was on it. And then, whoo, he finally does end correctly. But for a while there, the the stripes were all there. The rockets are there. Seems like everybody's there except me. I don't know. I didn't get the invitation. But to his credit, he's still finding the positive side of it. In fact, I found a quote from him from actually just earlier this year, where somebody on his Facebook page shared the video to his Facebook page and said, "Man, dude, is this you? Is this really you?" And he replied, "Yep, it's real. It was a really bad day, but my major memory mess up has brought lots of people joy," or so they say when they reach out to me. "So making lemonade out of lemons." It's a good attitude. So he's saying, like, yeah, it was a major screw up on my part. And you can even tell at the end of the video, he gets done, he just goes, because he knows exactly what he's done. And now he's infamous in this viral way. But I swear that this is a constant thing that's in my mind. And people are like, but Paul, why after all this time, why would you still be worried about stuff like that? I would actually be more concerned if I didn't worry about it. Because frankly, the day that you step out to do something like that and you're not a little worried about messing up is the day that you're taking it for granted. That's the day that you are assuming that you can do this. And see, I never want to get to that point, because I do something like that and I take it very serious. It's very important to me. It matters. And because of that level of seriousness that I apply to that, I don't want to mess it up. Not so that, I'm not worried about how do I look. I'm worried about doing it correctly, about performing the national anthem correctly, and I don't want to mess it up and then, have me actually be a distraction from what it is that is being done there. Our next and final example of this is a guy named Chuck Hayworth out of High Point, North Carolina. This goes back to 2019. So not all that long ago, but in this particular case, he falls prey to this very thing that I was talking about as well. Not the words. I mean, it seems like maybe he does forget the words in there when he gets a little flustered early on, but he doesn't even. It seems like he doesn't even start off real strong. It's not like he's a little soft, and then he kind of gets into it going. I have a suspicion. I haven't seen this anywhere, but I have a suspicion that maybe he wasn't even singing in the right key, because he sounds good starting off, but he struggles as he gets into it. So you have to understand, the United States National Anthem is a difficult song to sing for a lot of people, because it literally has an entire octave range from the lowest notes to the highest notes. And so you have to be able to embrace both ends of that spectrum. It also means you have to be very careful about what you start on, because you start low, or you should. You start low because you're going to accelerate up through here. Now, there was a time in my younger days when I could sing the national anthem a lot higher than I can now. I would start on a note like, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Now, you say, well, Paul, that doesn't sound too bad. That you sound pretty good. Yeah, but keep in mind, that's the low part. Because starting at that note, you're going to get to, and the rock, and the rocket's red. It's going to be way. See, and that's the problem. If you start on the wrong note, then you're in trouble. And there is a point in this song where we're listening, as you watch through Chuck, there's a point where you will hear him downshift, where he comes back in doing it, and he takes it down because he's recognized at that point he started on the wrong note. And I think that's what initially messes him up. I think his nerves get the best of him. He starts on the wrong note, and then his brain is freaking out like, oh, what am I going to do? And then that derails him. That's my theory. That's my theory. But like in my case now, I have to start down somewhere like, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? And you have to start down there because you're going to go, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air. See, you're going to go all the way. But see, I can get up there because up there with that key is still not excessively high. If I started on that higher note that I used to be able to sing the anthem on, never would do it. And so that's my theory of at least part of what happens. Now, you also have to understand in poor Mr. Hayworth's case, he was not the scheduled anthem singer. They actually had a scheduled anthem singer, and the person had to cancel last minute. Mr. Hayworth works for the team. It was the Atlantic League's High Point Rockets versus the Sugar Land Skeeters in High Point, North Carolina. The Skeeters. Wouldn't you love to play in a team called the Skeeters? Around here, we just swat them. But anyway, so he's with the Rockers, the High Point Rockers. He works for the organization, I should say. He's not on the team as a player. He works for the organization. And he was willing to step in and do it. Good for him. And he was apparently excited about it, but he had no experience doing it. He hadn't done it before. And clearly he was nervous, as you will see. So here we go. Chuck Hayworth.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light who's... Right. Let me hear you, people. Least was so bright, beaming, and the perilous light o'er the ramparts we were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you know, it's a little painful to watch. Not painful even so much because of the vocal stuff, but because my heart goes out to this poor guy. Because, you know, the way he starts out like he's excited to do this, and then that song's only a minute and a half normally, and that probably turned into the longest minute and a half of his life. And then when it was done, he apologized. He said he didn't mean any disrespect, because some people were actually criticizing. It was disrespectful. No, clearly he just had a really, really bad day. he was not prepared properly for that. So the Rockets themselves issued a statement. I'll read this to you. The Rockets issued a statement saying, quote, "The rendition was not up to organizational standards, and they offered apologies to any and all Americans. Team officials said several voice coaches have reached out to offer their services to Hayworth in hopes that he would like to redeem himself. The team then also said they would consider having Hayworth come back once he'd had a few singing lessons. Oh, I mean, just like, oh, the poor guy. But again, there were various quotes from little snippets of quotes, at least that I saw, where he was like, I didn't mean any disrespect. I had some anxiety that, apparently his legs started hurting in the middle. It's like this list of things, all kinds of perfect storm, whatever you want to call it. But point is, he struggled. I still watching, I've seen now that clip many times. I still think he started on the wrong note. I think he started in the wrong key, and that flustered him, and he wasn't sure how to pull the ripcord and bail out. I've had times where I've performed songs like in churches and stuff where I messed up at the beginning, and I've actually, because I'm usually in that context singing with a recorded accompaniment, and I've had to say, oh, stop, can we start that over again? Because I know there's no recovery from where that's at. Fortunately, knock on wood. Oh, hi sign. Knock on wood. Fortunately, it's never happened to me singing the national anthem. Oh, I hope I don't jinx it now. But still, in all three of these cases, in the case of Rosanne, and the ear plugging thing and stuff, and in the case of Gage Charles forgetting the words and trying to power through it, in case of Chuck Hayworth, who I'm convinced simply started on the wrong key and that messed him up and then threw him completely out of whack with the whole thing. All of these are things that I know I struggle with, and I've been doing this for a long time of singing this. And then if you look up online bad performances, you'll see a list of a lot of really well-known people where they've messed this stuff up, and none of us are perfect. Everybody can mess up. And these people have some anthem regrets. But I hope that none of them regret actually. Well, Rosanne might. But in her case, she was there as a publicity stunt, not as a genuine performer. And so I actually kind of feel bad for her because the guy who owns the company that's producing her show also owns a baseball team and kind of pushes her into doing this. And so she did it in Rosanne way, which was probably not appropriate. So they shouldn't have put her in that position. But regardless, I can relate to what I perceive to be the issues that all three of these individuals faced. But God bless all of them. All three of them powered through and stuck with it all the way to the end. And so if you ever come out and see me do National Anthem, even if I mess up, I hope you'll be able to say at least he powered all the way through to the end. Oh, but I hope nobody ever sees me mess up on this song. But hey, if you're going to be at the State Fair this week, Wednesday the 16th of August, and you're out there right away in the morning around 10 a.m., be listening when across the entire fairgrounds over the sound system, yours truly will be performing the Star Spangled Banner to kick off the day of the Iowa State Fair. If you're there, be sure to say hi. If you're not, could be that one I screw up and you'll say, well, it'll be videoed, you'll see it. But here's hoping that does not happen and I don't have to redo this video to add myself to the list. Woo. Okay, with that, I'll let y'all go and I'll see you next time from my front porch.